views expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals who made them, and they do not represent the views or beliefs of the Job Doc.
Hello, Sanbonani, buenos tardes, ¿cómo está? Goedemiddag, bonjour, molweni, moro, whatever language you speak. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Plumped Up Quacks. My name is Busi. I'm from the Job Doc. I haven't been here in a while, so I hope you haven't forgotten. But in any case, I am here with the usual suspects. Guys, please make yourselves known.
What up, people? I'm Miguel from Colombia.
Hi, welcome back. My name is Andres. I'm from Mexico. They call me Andy.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Missed you both. And we also have another suspect who's returning to the Pumped Up Quacks family. Hi, Valerie.
Hi there. I'm Valerie. I'm also from Mexico.
The return
Welcome
of the
back,
prodigal son. Or daughter, in this case.
Daughters.
Welcome back, Valerie. The daughters, both of you.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back.
We are back. We are back with the bang and a quack, guys. So let's get right down to this week's proceedings. I have a riddle for you guys. You ready? A zombie, a mummy, and a ghost bought a house. It has all the usual rooms except for one. What room won't you find in that house?
Yeah,
Think
I have
about it. If you think you know the answer, just think on it. Otherwise, we will ask this question again after our first topic, and we will discuss the answer towards the end, so stick around if you want to know what it is. In the meantime, it's time for us to get things kicked off with this week's quacky news.
A cobra went missing for 6 days in Swedish zoo located. The problem is that it's still free. So if you're living in Sweden, there's a cobra missing. Beware.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
I have a friend from Sweden named Sven. Sven, you better be on the lookout. I'll check on you tomorrow, bruv.
Doctor removes 23 contact lenses from the eye of a patient who forgot to take them out for almost a month. The woman apparently kept putting new lenses in every morning without removing the set from the day before.
That's painful. That's horrible. That's...
Why?
Oh my God. Oh no. How could she? Oh no. Oh no. My goodness.
It's fake news.
Oh no.
No, my mom actually told me before this meeting, it was actually, I think on Monday, she told me that news. My piece of news is from October the 22nd, and it's a team of researchers from Japan studying the processes of hair growth have successfully generated hair follicles in cultures. So the cure for baldness might be closer than we expect.
We win.
Yes.
We win, boys.
Yeah.
We win.
Okay. Well, we have a colleague named Joe who might be interested in the story. So, Joe, if you're listening, we found the solution, man. Come back to us. I have a story from about a month ago. On September 22nd, a Florida highway had to temporarily close after a semi-trailer carrying cases of Coors Light crashed and turned the roadway into a silver sea of beer cans. The multi-vehicle crash occurred shortly after 6 a.m. in the southbound lanes of those roads in Tampa, Florida, because I don't know what they are, so I'm not going to break them down. But the pileup began when one semi-trailer clipped another while changing lanes, and then next thing, it was beer for everybody who just happened to be on the highway at that time. So my question is, if you're a beer lover and you see this happen on your way to work, are you going to stop and get some beer?
Well, it's Coors Light, so no. That's probably like water.
Well, I will take it and I'll put it in some plants because it's what plants need some water in.
Exactly. Same with Bud Light.
Let us get down to our first topic, guys. This one is an interesting one, I think. From avid UFO chasers to green men spotted on the beaches of Tampico to the secrets of Nellis Air Force Base, aka Area 51, guys. What am I talking about? Aliens, UFOs, little green men, abductions, probing in places where you don't want to be probed. Guys, do you believe? Do you think we are alone in this universe, or do you think there's other people out there?
I do think that there's more life in other planets than us. I mean, the universe is way too big for us to be alone.
Yeah, I also believe that there are some cases in which we cannot find us ourselves alone. And just to quote one of my favorite investigators about this topic, is called Tom DeLonge, and he's one of the biggest investigators about alien life. He also happens to be the frontman of Blink 182. What a coincidence! But he has found many things in our world that links to other life outside our planet. So that's really interesting. And hopefully they are not blue, and that's it.
Well, if they are blue, they are double D, double die, double D, double die.
What a topic, people. What a topic. So much to cover, and we're just reaching the surface of this topic. Okay.
Literally.
Literally, yeah. From my opinion, I think it makes sense that there's something else out there. I remember that I talked to a professor, a physics professor, when I was perhaps like 16 years old, and something really got me from that conversation that we had. That if you have a dice, you roll the dice and you can continue rolling the dice for a long time. And at some point when you're tossing the dice too many times, you get the same pattern. So there's a possibility that actions happen again in the future if there's a repetition in that. So what I think is that if you get the planets in the entire universe and then you put like a number to them, it's gonna repeat eventually, you know? The conditions are gonna repeat as well because it's part of the probability and statistics. So it could happen, you know? It actually got me thinking about that. We were talking about life in other planets. So it could be a possibility. Like, I don't discard it at all.
What is the thing that would be repeating? Like life in other planets, or our condition as humans would
certain conditions in a planet. So
Right.
if you get a pattern in the universe, that there are certain conditions about distance, about maybe atmosphere,
Right.
certain elements that make it more possible to get life, such as carbon, as we know, hydrogen, and the basic four, nitrogen and oxygen. So these elements, along with atmosphere, along with distance from a star that gives light, and that's possible. That's some of the possibilities that could be repeating throughout the universe in other planets to make it more possible for it to be life.
Okay.
I think it's possible, you know, like at least in paper. That's what I think about.
Yeah. I also think that we don't have any certainty, or we don't have all of the knowledge. Like in our world itself, it's amazing, and we still don't know everything about it. So just thinking about that, we don't know if there's even aliens living with us from other planets, or because
100%.
there's like urban legends every single place in the world, and so many hieroglyphics. And then we have all of the research that's done by the NASA, where they send these satellites outside and we get to see the planets of our solar system and the moons of the solar system. And we have so much information about those. And it took years to gather that information. And it's just our solar system, you know? So the universe is so vast and big, and it's probably infinite, according to theories. Like, when will we be able to get more knowledge if we cannot even have all of the knowledge in our own planet?
Yeah, I think we will acquire that knowledge eventually. I mean, we came from a place where we didn't know anything.
Look at us now, talking from different parts of the world through a computer.
Yeah. And we have seen the surface of other planets. The footage is there. There's like live streams of space on YouTube if you want to see them. But none of it really effectively gives us proof of whether there is life out there. There are even people who think that we live in a simulation that's controlled by aliens, guys. Actually, to be fair, I don't think we know anything. We know nothing. We are Jon Snow.
Yeah, no, but that's a theory saying that there's some scientist that is actually convinced that we are in a simulation managed by bigger creatures, that more smarter creatures. I don't think about that. I don't think that's true. But the
No, it was
the
not from the north.
explanation behind this is that whenever you create an environment with artificial NPCs, let's say, you don't make them conscious that they live in that environment, so you can make it as organic as possible.
Right.
And if you develop the intelligence in that system, there's a high chance that that system creates in its own intelligence a sub control environment that produces the same. And this can be a big chain of events that it could involve us at some point in that chain of events,
Okay.
Like maybe a simulation. It's a Rick and Morty episode, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that. Was the scientist
A
Rick Sanchez?
simulation. No, it's an actual scientist that exists
Ricardo
in this simulation. Ricardo Gomez. Simulation inside of simulation inside of a simulation inside of a simulation. And if you have 200,000 simulations in that process, there's a high chance that we are part of that chain and that we create a simulation in a video game, for instance, or an experiment, a controlled experiment. So for this person, he had it really clear that we live in a simulation. I don't think that is possible. That it's not my.
There's no way to prove it as true or to disprove it as a lie.
That's what happens with most of conspiracy theories. You cannot pinpoint the origin of what you think about it. You can have a lot of theories tying up everything, and to a certain degree it makes sense, right? You're like, right, this is completely factual. But at the end of the day, you have no way to prove it. But by that way, you cannot disprove it. That's why they are conspiracy at the end, because they say, why can't you disprove it? Maybe there's a way, if we could find, if we go deep into science, physics, and all of this, the theory that Andy commented at first, I do believe that it makes some sense, and I do believe that there's life in other worlds, because the universe is too big, and Earth is like...
It's too big for it to be just us, hey?
Yeah. Maybe there's other type of life. Maybe it's not animals or stuff like that. Maybe it's plants. We don't know, and we may never know in our lifespan.
That's sad. I don't think someone one day just decided that, okay, I think there's something out there. I think I saw some. There's no smoke without fire. People need to have seen something for them to have started speculating and speaking about all of this stuff.
I agree with everything you're saying. I do think that completely denying one conspiracy theory, it's not like the wisest thing, because at the end of the day, yeah, it cannot be 100% proven, but some of the things make sense. So I think we should just admit that we don't have all of the knowledge and have our minds open of the possibility that these theories might be in some maybe slight or certain way true.
To a certain degree, because we cannot say that something is true just because we cannot prove it is wrong.
Yeah. So you just keep your mind open. Because otherwise, like, people deny it, and then there's like this certain type of aggression towards people that do believe in these things. I just think that we should all respect that and like just accept that none of us know anything.
Right. I agree with that part, but there are some cases in which conspiracy theories are really dangerous. So we cannot say that just because we cannot prove right or wrong, you can say this without being harmful to the society. And
I agree.
There's many
totally
cases.
Agree. Makes sense.
100%.
When it's scientifically proven that it's not correct, then let's just accept it. But for some of the things that we will never be certain of, or until further notice,
let's keep an open mind. We might find out in our lifetime. We might find out maybe 7 generations from now. They'll find out. We may never find out. In any case, if it's 7 generations from now, it means I won't find out unless ghosts are real. And I'll be a ghost. And I guess I'll observe as a ghost.
Talking about ghosts?
You can't be sure. I mean, I swear I felt someone sit on my bed the one night when I was like with the lights out, it felt like someone sat on the bed and I was alone in the room. So, but I'm not saying I believe in ghosts. I'm just telling you what happened. But in any case, let's get back to that riddle. A zombie, a mummy, and a ghost bought a house. It has all the usual rooms except for one. What room won't you find? Instead of the usual break, Bella's gonna do the thing.
Okay, yeah.
thing.
Feeling famous right now. If you speak English and you don't have a job, go to jobdoc.com and try it out. Job.
Quack, quack.
Beautiful.
Well, everybody, one of the roles that we offer at the Job Duck is marketing. And one of the duties that some marketing assistants might have to do, strong emphasis on might, guys, is that maybe you might have to deal with some data analytics, right? And before we go too deep into that, we just want to let you know what that is. Data analysis is a process of inspecting, cleansing, transforming, and modeling data with the goal of discovering useful information, informing conclusions, and supporting decision-making. Might sound a little bit complicated, but one of the really great things about this episode is that we have our very own digital marketing analyst here with us today, and that is Miss Valerie, and she is going to clear up some of those things that you might be wondering about data analysis. Hey, Val.
Hi, Lucy. So, yeah, like you said, it's about gathering data and going through it, understanding it, and finding trends. And it's also pretty cool because you can do experiments and see if what you're doing is actually working or not. And the numbers are totally logical. They will never deceive you. You just have to keep track of all of the changes and keep a record of all of your numbers so you can make comparisons looking back and looking forward. So that's the beauty of analytics. That's all numbers, and numbers are a universal language.
Yep. And it's a universal language that can be spoken in a marketing sphere. So Val, can you explain to our listeners out there how you can use data analysis in marketing?
Sure thing. Well, here in JobDoc, what we have are weekly, monthly, and quarterly reports where we inspect the performance of our efforts in marketing throughout all of our social media channels. As you may or may not know, we have this podcast here on Spotify. We also have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We have so many channels. And a way to track all of that is going directly to each channel, going to the analytics section of each channel. If you don't know where to find it, you can Google it. It's super simple. And then you can just download your reports, put them on a spreadsheet, check them out. And you can use other tools to make a little bit more appealing reports that will be easier for you. But for starters, using a spreadsheet is a must. And by gathering all of that information from the channels you're interested in, you can see the performance of your content. So let's say we post this episode. Now we have all of the information from Spotify to know how many plays we got throughout which days. And we can see, okay, so on Mondays is when we have the highest amount of listeners. Okay, then we should post before Mondays to have more listeners. And then you try it. And if it works, okay, that hypothesis was correct. So it's gathering data, testing it, and seeing if it works.
So Val, it's really, really interesting what you're talking about. Especially, I would like to ask a question now that you mentioned about spreadsheets. As we all know, there's a way to get the data that is more automatic using software or using certain web pages that provide that to you. And there's another one that you can do it manually. Of course, that takes a little bit more time to get averages and all these specific ways to get the data. What do you think is more reliable, and what do you personally use in your current work?
Okay, so yeah, there's definitely tools that you can use to gather all of the information automatically. And those are very helpful, especially with all of the technology that we have nowadays. They pretty much do all of the work for you. They tell you which content is performing the best. And yeah, it's simpler to use those, but most of the times they'll have an extra cost. It also depends on the information that you want, because some of the times you will have access to very general overalls from your channels. So if you want something more specific, it would be better for you to gather it directly from the social media source, in my opinion. That's something that I do to gather the information on all of our posts. And then I go to each post and write special characteristics so we can determine in a simpler manner what the post is about and which types of posts are performing the better. You can do it, for example, with topics, or if it's for memes, if it's for just informative content, entertaining content. Or you could also do it by colors. So okay, the pink images are the ones that have the highest amount of reach. Things like that. You can be a little bit more thorough and go more in depth if you do it manually. But again, there's a lot of solutions nowadays for you not to do it manually, like exploring APIs or other softwares. So yeah, I would say if you can simplify your life, just go for it. If you want to be very, very thorough, go for it. Whatever works for you and your objectives, that's what matters. And that you solve your problem at the end of the day.
Right.
It's a great insight.
Super, super insightful. There's a plethora of different tools that you could use to find this data, right? Which ones do you prefer and which ones do not like as much?
Personally, what I really like is gathering the data from each channel. Might be a lot of work, but I like doing it that way because I get access to everything. I do know that there are automatic integrations, for example, in Data Studio. I think those are worth looking at. Something that was suggested actually yesterday by IT in one of our meetings was researching BigQuery APIs, because you can have a huge data set in the background. It's like a database combined with an API from a specific source. Okay.
What is an API? Can you tell us?
Sure. An API is a piece of code that lets you get information from one place to another. So that's pretty much what you want. You want to gather all of the data from Facebook and put it in your report. Call it a spreadsheet, call it a software, call it Data Studio, whatever is it that you use.
Okay. All right. I have another question, guys.
Go for it.
So obviously, when you are gathering all of this data, as you mentioned, you're going to apply it in different ways and whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, right? How important is this data when you want to create a marketing strategy specifically?
Well, information is basically power. Whenever you want to improve something, you need to know what your current numbers are to make a decision. So let's say you want to increase your reach. Okay, where are you getting all of your reach from right now? What is it that you're doing that's working the best? And then taking into consideration all of that information, you can decide, okay, so if this content is performing better, then I could invest a little bit more here so I can increase my number in reach and maybe do some forecasting. So if right now I'm paying $10 and I'm having 5 in reach, then if it's always constant or it slightly varies, I can make the forecasting and say, well, maybe if I spend $20, well, I'll reach 10 people, just simplifying it.
I have another question, Val. Now you get the information that you know is really relevant, and you are trying to share that information to maybe your boss, maybe your colleagues, maybe for you to understand it better. What are the best practices? And maybe you can give us some tools that can help us with the data visualization to have it as understandable and
like how can you present this to everybody else?
Exactly.
Okay, so that's tricky because sometimes the people that ask you for the information don't really know what they need. So you just have to anticipate their needs and simplify it in a way that they can understand it. The tool that I use to simplify visually all of my information is Data Studio. I mentioned it before. It really is a game changer. It's totally free, and you can link your spreadsheets and they will organize the information. You also need to learn how to use all of the charts, and sometimes you'll have to use some specific views that you just have to explore the whole interface because it offers a lot. Something that you have to think about is, okay, so let's say I'm the head of the marketing department. What do I need to know? Okay, first of all of our investments, that's important to know if they are working. That would be like the first thing that we want to check. We are spending this amount of money on these types of ads. Is it working? Why yes or why not? And how can you say that? Just let the data speak for itself. If you try to solve all of the questions immediately, sometimes it's not something that you can prove with just one look to the data. You have to check, to test, and okay, I'm just going further. But well, for the visualization, you can add charts. If it's for how many countries are visiting your website, for example, you can add a pie chart. If you want to know how much you're spending and how much you are getting in return, you can make a line chart. You can add heat maps so you know when is it that you have more users visiting your website, which is something that you all guys have seen in my reports.
When it comes to the reports that Valerie has presented to us, I think it has given me a greater understanding of our audience and what they want, when our audience pays the most attention to us, when is the best time to reach them. So if you are working with the US-based business and you are looking for better ways to interpret some of the data and things that you work with, maybe you can try some of the tips that Valerie has shared with us today. And also, guys, if you have any great tips about tools that you can use for data analysis, maybe you have some questions about it that you want to ask, or maybe you want to add or take away or counter something that you might have heard here today, talk to us in the comments, guys. If you're listening to us on YouTube, we will reply. We would love to hear from you. Oh yeah, and also those aliens too. I would love to hear from some people in Tampico. What the hell happened? And are the aliens green or are they blue? In any case, let's get back to that riddle, guys. It's time to unpack the riddle. A zombie, a mummy, and a ghost bought a house. It has all the usual rooms except for one. What room won't you find?
The living room.
Let's give Valerie.
No!
Yeah, I know it. I know it.
I'm joking. I'm kidding, guys. But yes, Miguel, you are absolutely right.
I was going to say bathroom.
How inconsiderate from you to not give it a shot to our guest.
Don't hit the player, hit the game.
But yes, in any case, once again, if you want to give us a little quack about anything that you've heard on this episode or past episodes, please do hit us up in the comment section. Thank you so much to the usual suspects and to our in-house numbers queen, Valerie, for joining us today. If you want more information about the Job Duck or you want to apply to one of our positions, please visit our website at www.jobduck.com. You can also hit us up on social media. On Instagram, we are at The Job Duck. On Facebook, we are The Job Duck. We are The Job Duck on LinkedIn too, as well as on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter at _Job Duck. You can find us on TikTok. We are The Job Duck. Our brand ambassadors have an account called Job Duck Daily on TikTok too. And if you have the interest, you can also find us on
Pinterest.
Thank you so much for listening. See you all next time.
See ya.
See ya.
See you in another planet.
Aliens exist.
Quack,
Aliens
quack.
exist.